Good afternoon. It's odd saying that, but yeah, good afternoon, because normally it's good evening whenever I do my interviews. But this is my new show that'll be on here every Thursday at this time, 4 p.m. EST. I'll be on here doing this show. We'll give it just about another minute here, see if we can get some more people showing up on this and see if we can get some more shares out there. We're also being shared over to the Comics Advocating Network. That's where my show will mainly be stationed out of, but I'm still going to go ahead and do the feeds this way and then just share it straight over. So while we're waiting on that, if you come in here and you can see and hear me on any of these, let me know in the comments so that I know everything's working well on that. And we'll get going here in just about a minute. We've got a couple of guests here that we're going to bring on, and then we have actually got a topic that we're going to discuss. And we're going to keep this thing down to an hour today. So I'm actually being timed, which is going to be fun because I've never been timed before. Hey, Scott, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here. Making sure you can see and hear me okay over there. And if you'll get this shared out, I'd certainly appreciate that. All right, let me go ahead and remove the banner on here. All right, so let's go ahead and make this official. Demon Phil, Comics and More, New Jersey. And this show is Demon's Domain. Yeah, we got some cool special sound effects and everything here. It's really great how we use that. But yeah, Demon's Domain is the name of the show. That's what I'm going with so far anyway. And we're just going to get on. I have free reign on this. So I can kind of talk about whatever I want to. Now, I still go with my core rules on this: no religion, no politics, no drama, and no negativity. My guests are aware of this, and they agree to this as well. And we're just going to kind of keep going with that. It's been working on my other shows. Why not bring it over to this one? So speaking of my guests, let's go ahead and bring them out right now. I have got M.Oden and Chuck Pineau.
Woo! What up?
They're a little excited to be here. Thanks for being here, guys.
Hey, we're glad to help you with this and be a part of this premiere, man.
Heck yeah.
Hey, I certainly appreciate it. I'm going to start off with Mike. I'm going to give you full screen on this if you'll tell us who you are, what you do, and where to find you.
Hey, guys. M.Oden, creator, writer of Elysian Fields, fully funded, in demand on Indiegogo. We'll keep that open throughout the summer, so you can find us first place there. Second place is on Twitter, where the handle is at Elysian Fields _0. I say again, at Elysian Fields _0. And finally, we also have our Facebook page finally up for Nine Realms Publishing LLC, so you can look us up on there and follow us. We'd love to have you stick around and follow us. And I've got something special if Phil will let me show it here at the end of the program.
All right, and Chuck.
Right there, Chuck Pineau, freelance writer and editor. Done books like Belial, Welcome to the Void, all that kind of stuff. You can find me on Bonfire Press on Facebook. You can find Belial Comic on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Chucky Pin. And you can find my Chuck's Raw Reviews, where I talk about amazing indie comics on YouTube.
Very cool. And all right, so we're back up, all three of us on here. Tom Hutchison's in here. Thank you, Tom, for being here. Tom, if you missed earlier, this is my new show that I've got that I added in, that they asked me to go ahead and do a show a week on Comics Advocating Network. So I'm still doing it on my regular feeds, and it's just being shared over there as well. But these shows are going to be panel oriented for the most part. I might have one guest at a time or something, but it's always going to be based around one particular subject, and we kind of knock it around from there. So today I wanted to start off for my inaugural show with something so simple, but yet so overlooked. So we're going to go over the definition and the impact of support. Now, this has a lot of meaning to it. It doesn't mean necessarily just for one dynamic or another. It can mean quite a few different things whenever you start looking into it. So what I want to start off with is the definition of support is actually to give assistance to, or to enable, to function or act. So that's the general definition. So with that on there, what I would like to go ahead and kind of start off with on this is within the industry, within the comics industry and all. We are we talk about, help me with my project, help me with my Kickstarter, help me with my Indiegogo, help me with my book. Now, help and support are two different things on there. So what I would like to do is we're going to be bouncing this around between my guests on here as well. What we're talking about is, what does support actually mean to you? You've got the definition and everything. So I want to start with Mike on this one. What does support mean to you?
So I see, so to me there's a big difference between support and help. And I come from a military background, you know, family's military. I served 6 years. And so to me, helping with something is you having somebody come in and help, like getting you to where you go by helping take the reins of that project and doing stuff that you would normally be required to do. And that way you achieve your goal. Like, for instance, I talked to Luke Stone, and Luke Stone has been a big support system for my project, but he was a letterer. I was initially going to be having to do all of that stuff on my own, and he offered to come in and help me, and as a result, we got our timeline put up. And that would be an example of help, right? Somebody came in, saw that I was having some issues here or there with this, that, or the other thing and trying to figure out how I was going to do it, and offered their assistance. Help can be a form of support, but support and help are two different things. Kind of the rectangle square kind of conundrum, where a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. Support is giving you, like, making sure that you are there as in the background, pushing that person forward, whether it's financially. You know, obviously we're indie, and a good majority of us at this point, we aren't going through like indie labels or what have you. We're doing crowdfunding. And as a result, you know, the biggest support that people can give us is by throwing money at our campaigns, right? So that's a form of support. Support also is sharing your link around, or Phil has this fantastic show, you know. Support is, hey, do you want to come on my show and talk about your book? Because that gets more thing. It is a way of giving a hand without directly being involved, you know. And that's how I see it. It's like, you know, that's how it is in the military. Is you've got your line units and your combat units, and then you have your support units. They're all integral pieces to the pie, but the support units aren't there to necessarily fight combat. They're there to provide the things that the combat people need, right? Like transportation, food, X, Y, Z. That's what they're there for. And so that's how I view it.
Okay. Chuck, what do you have to add on to that? I know you've got some thoughts on this one.
Yeah, right. That was a very good way of going into support. There's a lot of things. You know what? I mean, a lot of us, the thing is, we're going through the same stuff together. So for a lot of us, it's also just coming in and being like, dude, I know how you're feeling. Like, I got you. Like, talking to them in the background, talking them through stuff, letting them vent, because a lot of times there's drama or issues or that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's just getting in touch with them and saying, hey, I know that you're having a really rough time. Come yell at me. Like, tell me what's going on. Talk to this person. Let's bitch and dish and then move on so that we can focus on what's really important. There was a friend today. They posted they were having a really tough time, and everyone's like, oh, you know what? Hugs, we love you, blah, blah, blah. Here's stuff to make you smile. And I thought, you know what? You're in the middle of a Kickstarter. And I know that when you're depressed and having a rough time, the last thing you want to do is focused on that. So you know what? I shared their Kickstarter. I said, guys, it would mean a lot to me if you really help this person out. Check out their stuff. I can tell you that it's good. And, you know, and that was just another way of understanding what they're good at, what they can handle right now and what they can't. And there was a really easy way for me to do that. Again, and Odin here had mentioned finances. Finances are great. Some of us are poor. You know, I'm doing better than I was, but yeah, you know, money's tough, especially when you're putting thousands of dollars into your own books and stuff. It's ridiculous. So I like to, especially like with Kickstarters, crowdfunders, that kind of stuff, I have tiers. So if you're a regular person who comes up to me and says, hey, man, I'd really appreciate it if you help me out. This is my Kickstarter going on. I'll check it out, and there's a good chance that I'll share it. I'll show it around, show what's up. If you then come to me and I like the idea of the book, or I like you, but I don't like the idea of the book, then I might put a couple bucks in it, especially if it's a Kickstarter. Because the thing about Kickstarter is you have followers. So those followers see, hey, I put money into it. I'm supporting it. So even that dollar could actually end up getting them $25, $50, $100 because all my followers see that and go, oh, Chucky put money into that. Let's check this out. Maybe it's for me. Cool. So then they get that. Then it's, okay, I'm interested in the book, but I don't know how I feel. I'll get the digital and I'll check it out. And then, of course, it's, oh, man, I love your stuff. Love this book. Love what's going on. I'm in there. Let's do this. Let's get me a physical. Let's make it happen. So, it's really about kind of gauging, what's going on and how much you want to help and all that kind of stuff. And, we're going to get into it. But there's also there's a level of selfishness to it and also a level of selflessness to it. And you kind of have to find your groove there and go, look, I'm willing to help you and I would love to help back. But at the end of the day, you just need to kind of be willing to support and help out and, kind of hope for the best.
And I completely agree with that. And you must be cheating and kind of looking at my notes over here a little bit because you kind of got off to that one. I'm going to get to that one here very shortly. So we're earmarking that one. But I agree with what both of you are saying because support, to me, it's physical, financial, emotional, and mental. Those are the four main groupings in there that I've got. Financially, I can't back everybody that's on here. That's an absolute. Everybody knows this. Physically, I can't make the books for you. I can't, produce this for you. I can't do the lettering or whatever because I don't have the background for it or anything. So there's those. So what can you do? Now, whenever we're talking about sharing, okay, that's the easy thing. Yes. Chuck had kind of mentioned, and I think Mike kind of stepped on it just a little bit with it.
Yeah.
There is the emotional. Whenever you're doing crowdfunding, whenever you're doing a book, whenever you're just in this industry, you get down a lot of times. Things happen, something happens, so you just need a pick me up. Now, does that mean that I need to go over and buy 2,000 copies of Belial? Would that make Chuck so happy that he gets out of his rut that he's in right then? Probably so.
Realistically,
but then I'm the one in a rut. And now you got to help me out emotionally and financially. So that, it's an ongoing circle. So the point is, whenever you have things like that, whenever you do step in, Chuck had already brought up about selflessness and selfishness. There are two variations of that. So my question, going with Mike again, start off on this one is, how do you go ahead and determine which one and how much you're going to put into it and how much support is enough on whatever you do?
To me, and this just, I feel that any support you can show is enough. Even just a simple thing as a share goes a long way. When I started my campaign, it was right at the beginning of everything that was going on. And I was genuinely worried that people wouldn't get into the book. I understood that people's finances were going to be tight. People didn't have necessarily the money to be throwing around at a silly comic book, And so my big thing was obviously like, hey, if you can't purchase a book, I understand that a share goes a long way because it gets you exposure, gets you this, that, gets you that, and then obviously, from an emotional standpoint, being there for somebody. I mean, yeah, there could be a selfish angle to it, but I don't really see it as that, because even if you do something for somebody, you're not exactly expecting a direct result in return, right? It's just nice to know that if you like maybe someday down the road, if you're having a bad day like how they had, maybe they'll have your back then too. I don't feel that any decision that I have made as far as giving support is concerned has ever been made by a quid pro quo kind of status, and I don't think that that's true for Chuck either. I think that that's the whole thing. Is we do this because we know how hard it is. We give our support because we know how hard it is, and we know how difficult it can be when you're looking when you're running a campaign and you're looking at your total funds every day and it hasn't gone up, and you want it to succeed more than life itself, but there's nothing you can do outside of do everything you can. And that can be overwhelming. I remember, my third day in the campaign, I had a panic attack. My wife, my wife was the only person I had told about it at the time, because like I had been up pretty much nonstop for the past 3 days promoting my book, and we hadn't even cleared 500 yet. I realize now, coming from where I started and what have you, and based off of what I've seen from the indie community and how most of these books work, that wasn't necessarily a death sentence. But like at the time, the only things that I had to go off of were the campaigns that I personally knew about and funded, and were hitting like 100Ks and what have you, And so I saw that, and I was so distraught, and on top of that, the exhaustion of constantly promoting. So, I think every single one of us has been there at a point where it just became so much, and we had to step back for a second. And any support that can be offered during that is awesome. But I don't feel that there is necessarily a line between selfishness and selflessness that we have to draw, because I feel that it's our general thing as people to want to help other people, right? I mean, yeah, there are people that we know and we've gotten to know and we can do without and disassociate ourselves from. But at the end of the day, if I see Chuck's having an issue, Chuck's been nothing but great to me my entire time. He's had nothing but great words to say about my project. He backed my book with a physical tier, which after hearing his tier system makes me ecstatic. And there's no way in hell that if I saw Chuck was having a bad day, that I wouldn't at least shoot him a message on Messenger and be like, yo, what's up? Let's talk. And try and bring him out of the dumps. It has nothing to do with selfishness or anything like that. It's just a matter of he's a person that has always been kind to me. Repay that kindness forward.
That makes complete sense on that. Chuck, what do you have to say?
I think you did kind of circle around it, though, because I know you said that there's not a selfishness or selflessness, but there sort of is, just in the regard that, like, think about, I mean, there's some people out there, let's be honest, who don't support, who don't help, who really are about their own stuff. And so eventually when you pick up on that, you go, look, okay, I like your book. I'm still probably going to get it, but, maybe when I buy the physical of that Kickstarter, maybe I'm not going to share that I bought it. Maybe I won't, because at the end, when you pay for it, Twitter might say, oh yeah, do you want to share this with everyone? I'm like, maybe not. Maybe I'm just happy to have the book. And, and that's part of the problem of just being a taker. The thing is you can't support everyone, but you can still be generally supportive. There's a lot of people who will do things like, and it's very simple. You put up a status on your page and you say, hey guys, if you have a Kickstarter going on, throw it in here. Let's all check it out. And that's such a simple, free, cheap way to help other people out. And so if you're someone who does none of that, supports no one, takes care of nobody, does nothing, then yeah, it's a lot less likely that I'm going to step in and help. And that's not even a selfish thing. That's a taking care of the community thing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I would rather put my heart and soul into the people who are also putting their heart and soul into it. I would rather, and again, it doesn't mean that they don't get my bucks. If you got a really good book and you're a dick, okay, I bought the book, but I'm certainly not going to necessarily, push it or return that or give them that huge support of, I got this. This is so awesome. I'm just going to probably take it, enjoy it, and that's about it. You got what you got. So, yeah, man, I think there are levels, and there certainly is a selfishness to it, and I guess an automatic karma that comes with it where you don't necessarily do it for the karma. If you actually care, you actually care. There's people like Travis Gibb. He actually cares. He understands, like any of us, if you're going to be pragmatic at all, that support does bring it to yourself as well. But that's not the 100% goal. You are naturally supportive because you naturally care. But it'd be dumb if you didn't also, you would be missing out on a point if you didn't also realize that, okay, there's a good chance some of this will come back to me. Now, if it doesn't, you don't then get to be like, wait, I bought your Kickstarter and I've heard that stuff. Or someone will be like, hey, I jumped on your Kickstarter.
That's ridiculous. One of the best pieces of advice that I got when I got into this industry was actually starting to talk to people. Was I talked to Scott Weldon, the guy who did Harlan Buck.
He's my dude. I love that guy.
Fantastic guy. Also fellow vet. We were chatting and what have you. And probably one of the best pieces of advice that I got was quid pro quo supporters are full of shit.
Yep.
If all they care about is you backing their book, is backing your book for the hope that they would do the same to you, they're not real fans.
Exactly.
And like that's one of the big things that stuck with me is, and I won't throw anyone out, but there have definitely been people where I feel like that's been the reason why they backed my book, was because they saw that my book was starting to get some momentum, and they saw the reviews that I've done for things like Dave Brink's Perfect 10 or chess by why am I blanking? Yeah. Like all of these people, and they've seen what I've had to say about these books and the love that I pour into their reviews because I like their books, and they're hoping for that investment to be returned tenfold. And it's just like I can't necessarily do that. Like, I would love to back every book that I could. There are a lot of books that I'm about to miss because we had some issues with scheduling at work. And so I missed a whole bunch of hours. So these books that I was initially planning on getting and backing, because I loved everything about them, I'm not going to be able to. And that's not to say I didn't show my support in other ways, but it's still one of those things that it sucks. So if you're coming to me and you're like, well, why didn't you back my book? I backed your book. Dude, that's not how that works. Like, this is a two-way street, but we can choose which way we want to walk.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because there's some people out there who I would love for them to read my book. Yeah. And I have supported them, and I get it. Either I didn't sell it to them well, or maybe they have financial issues or any of that kind of stuff. But in the back of my head, it's like, man, I would love for them to read my book. I really think they'd enjoy it. I'd love to see their name on my backer list. But there's never been a thought where I thought, I'm jumping into their DMs and saying something. That is stupid, and that is death. I'm telling you, it's death.
No, it's a toxic part. Like, as much as we are here to help each other, like the rising tide, as Rob and Luke would put it, as much as we're here for each other, there's a limit to what we can do. And on top of that, there might be a book that's absolutely fantastic, but it's not for me. Like, there have been books that I have read that are objectively great books, but they're just not something I'm interested in. And that's the nature of things. There is a reason why you have a target audience. Like, every book has a target demographic, whether the writer consciously makes that decision or not. There are going to be a group of people that appreciate that material more than anyone else. That's not to say everyone can enjoy it, but there is a specific market for every book. And sometimes, no matter how great that book is, and no matter how much that target demographic loves it, you're going to have people who either just flat out don't like it, or like it, but they're not willing to pay the money because it's not something that they're generally interested in. And they have 20 other books that they are interested in that they'd rather throw money at.
And now that brings up our next thing on here is we're going to kind of change up the gears just a little bit on this one. So we've been talking about what support means on how to do support on your end and everything, and what's kind of on the plate and what you're looking at with all that and everything. So how do you handle objections on that? What I mean by that is, let's say I come to you, Mike, and I say, hey, I've got this great book coming out. Do you want to go ahead and support this one for me? And you tell me no, or, flip it around to you saying no on that end. How are we handling objections on that? How would you go ahead and handle that?
Just kill them with kindness. It'd be like, hey, man, I'm saddened that you don't want to promote my book. Like, of course, everybody wants their book to be the next thing. They want their books to be funded, this, that, the other. But at the end of the day, I feel that most of us have gotten into this and understand that this is a consumer-based market. If the customer tells you that they are not interested in your book, there is jack and shit you can do to change that. You can ask, you can ask why. And if they articulate a good reason, maybe you should take that into consideration and apply those things to your book, to your campaign, whatever these things are considered, so long as they're constructive. Like if it's literally just the guys like, I just hate you. Well, there's nothing you can do about that, and you don't want them buying your book anyway. Because at the end of the day, all they're going to do is run your name through the mud. And that's not me trying to be a part of the nonsense, but like at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't like me as a person and that's why they don't want to purchase my book, and it has nothing to do with the merit of my writings or anything like that. I don't like Alan Moore. I still have a copy of Watchmen and V for Vendetta. If Alan Moore reached out to me and asked if I would promote his book, I would be an idiot to say no, especially if he respected me that much to come and ask me. So if people are driven by that level of pettiness and it's driven more towards who you are, then there's nothing you can do about that. You just got to kind of move on. Maybe if they don't like you for who you are because you're an asshole, maybe that's something that you can reflect on and maybe try and make some better steps in your life in regards to that. But there's not much you can do except take that lick to the chin and move on. What are you going to do? Throw a temper tantrum? Well, you supported my last book. So what? They didn't like your last book. Or, hey, you made an ass of yourself out of a live stream and they don't respect that. Or, hey, you did this. There's a whole bunch of things that play into that. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's all about how you present yourself. It's all about what you focus on with your books. And it's all about if this person is a part of that target demographic. Not much else you can do except say, thanks for listening to me and have a good day.
Now, Chuck, I'm fixing to go to you. I want to say first and foremost that whoever actually takes the time to look into either one of your works and doesn't like what they see over there, but they need to go see my reviews and everything and see what's going on with these, because I don't do reviews unless I actually like it. I mean, that's not an option with that. So I support because I actually believe in these two right here. I want to go ahead and say before we get on with this one, nobody told me I had to choose who goes on here because they give me a list and they say, these are the people you have to have on your show. They were handpicked by me simply because they exonify what I'm talking about right now. And we're getting more into that as we go along. So Chuck, go ahead and go with yours. What do you do whenever you've got someone, and how do you handle the objections on there?
Well, okay, so there's not a lot of reasons to not share something, to be honest. Like if someone comes to me, there's not a lot of reasons to not just simply say, okay, I'll share the link and go. Here are some of mine. If you come into my inbox and you just drop a link and say, share it around? Nope. Almost regardless of who you are, the answer is no. Because you couldn't even pretend to give a shit about me. I'm not your fucking bulletin board, and you're not mine. So I have responded to people before, and now I'm like so apathetic to it that I'm just like, cool, ignore, and I'll just like throw that bubble away and move on. I'm not even like dealing with you or talking to you. But in the past, I would send them my Kickstarter, or I would send them, where they can buy my books. And they'd be like, oh, what's this? Oh, if you want to buy mine, go ahead. And, sometimes they might. That doesn't mean I'll buy theirs. Because, again, quid pro quo is bullcrap, and I don't like how you started the conversation. But you bought my book, so all right, I'll share it. I can do that, whatever. But I would say one of the few times that I would be okay with someone not sharing my stuff or me not sharing someone's stuff is we all have brands and we all have kind of what we're comfortable with and what we're not. So if what you're asking me to share is way outside of that, like let's say your stuff is like straight up porn, I don't necessarily want that on my page. I might like it to buy it, but I don't necessarily want to put it up on my page. I got grandchildren and stuff. Yeah, Chucky says fuck a lot, but the kids know that. But I don't do the nudity. I wear clothes around them, and they love that. So who wouldn't?
I'm sure.
So I might not show off that so much. So if I were to send my stuff and like actually have a dialogue with someone, ask them how you doing today, what's going on, and then be like, oh hey, so I have this Kickstarter going on. It would mean a lot to me if you showed it off. And if they said, yeah, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm very Christian and I really don't want to show off your demon book, which I did have someone say. I was like, you know what? I respect that. That's very okay. Don't have an issue at all. I appreciate you being honest. Thank you very much. And that's the end of it. I've had people say, yeah, so I don't share Chuck's Raw reviews because you curse an awful lot and I don't want to send anyone there. Fuck, I get it. I wear that like a badge. So that's not an issue at all. It doesn't bother me. So we need to understand that stuff too. And I think the only time that it's okay to not share is A, when someone's rude, and B, when it doesn't work with your platform. Because if I'm sharing porn on my platform, people are like, what's Chucky into now? So
would they really be surprised though, Chuck? Would they really be surprised?
I've done enough crazy stuff. Hell, I've edited fetish books. I've edited everything from children's books all the way up. So
I'm aware. I have talked to Rob.
So, I guess people would be surprised if I didn't share it because I've worked on it.
Now, I will say on my end, because I'm actually not in the field, I haven't written anything yet. Working on something. It's in the process. And I've got a lot of support. I will say that. I've got a lot of support pushing me in that direction. Awesome. So I don't have any of that or anything. So on my end, whenever I was able to look behind the curtain and be involved with everyone that's involved in the industry and everything where I am now, was simply because I supported them. Now, does that mean that I went bankrupt in the process of doing so? No. But I was sharing so much. In fact, I shared so much that I got to where it was almost like a blanket thing, and I don't like that. But it got their name out there and everything, and I started learning, okay, there's a different way of doing that. You don't have to blanket share. You actually need to put some kind of a tie to it. Yeah. To put I call them naked shares now, is whenever you put it onto whatever page or group or whatever, and you just throw it in there and then run. I can't stand those. That's why you put a share in there and you have to write something out about it. I mean, write something. Say, don't miss Mike's great book, Elysian Fields. You'll hate yourself if you do. If you miss Belial, then, you suck at life. You got to say things like this to go ahead and get things moving so that they see that it's not a blanket share or a naked share. So whenever I was starting off with this, that's what I did. And that's why I was allowed, and I stress the term allowed, to be where I am now. Because I showed respect, I got respect. So that brings up my next thing on here is lead by example. We've kind of revolved around this the entire time on here, and it's been discussed a little bit on here. But how much does it mean to you? I'm going to go both of you on this one, starting with Mike. How much does it mean to you to have somebody who leads by example and then wants something, supported on there? Or key in turn that you actually lead by example and then you want something supported?
It means the world to me. Like straight up. If Chuck ever contacted me, or Rob, any of these guys from the Indie Vault network, and said, "Hey, we could really use your help promoting this book, or you really use your support on this book in any way that you can," you bet your ass I'm going to be there. Yeah. Professionalism is something that I very much care about. I served in the military. The first thing that I got when I graduated basic training was a letter from my brother, who served as well, and he shot me this article called "The Death of the Quiet Professional." And I have tried to structure how I handle my professional image based off of that ever since. And let me tell you, it goes a long way. Like, there is nothing that there is nothing that any of those people would throw my way that I wouldn't find some way to support. There's nothing. A while ago, Varian and Rob hosted one of probably the most important internet panels in this industry that there is, in the conversation between Comicsgate and Diversity Comics. Conversations like that are what the industry needs to grow. And the fact that they handled that with such professionalism and made sure that both sides were being fair to one another and were putting out the full truth and accepting what was truth and what was bias was everything. And so when you handle this industry with that much respect, you will find that there are very little people that will say no to you. And I know that there are people that get at Rob because he's very aggressive. But I like that about Rob. I like the fact that if Rob doesn't like something that I do, he's going to give me a no bullshit answer. Because at the end of the day, we have no place in being here if we aren't looking to grow. And respect goes a huge way. Chuck has always comported himself professionally. He he swears, but so do I. He doesn't do anything that would really get him in trouble. This is definitely more of an adult program. But at the end of the day, you aren't making an ass out of yourself. You're stating your professional opinions about things. And so there's no, if Chuck reached out to me and said, "Hey, in fact, just the other day, he posted up a thing about he has an indie comic that he has a lot of respect for and he loves, but he's an editor for. And so he can't write a review." And I was like the third or fourth person to hit up that message and say, "I write indie comic reviews. Hit me up. Give me the details." There is nothing I won't do for any of those people because I respect them.
I was going to say that. You jumped on that grenade right away. I had actually considered that in that. And yeah, that was a total... it was neat because that guy that I've worked with, he's a local dude. He's a really nice guy, but he's a quieter guy, and he doesn't tend to ask things. So he came to me and he said, "I know you can't do the review. I know it would be rough. Do you know anybody?" And I was like, "Dude, I got this." And I did it. And sure enough, you saw that. Boom, 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 boom. All these
whole list of people. And that goes to show the respect people have for you in this industry goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, the reason why I do those reviews is because they're the kind of reviews that I want for my book. However, I don't expect anyone to do those reviews for me. I just hope that those happen. So how you were saying earlier, Demon, you only like to talk about the books that you enjoy. Yeah, it's the same thing, man. I don't, and I've told people 1,000 times, they're like, oh, I'm afraid you're going to rip it apart. Oh, no, I'm not. The worst thing you will hear from me is, I'm not reviewing it. I can't do it because I don't have enough good stuff to say about it, and I don't want to be a liar. So I'm sorry. And
I am very much the opposite, but I will get to that.
Well, and you know what? I feel like there's a place for both. For me, I feel like, and you know, this is a debate that could go on for a while, but for me in reviews, I feel like if, you know, we're mostly early on, so really a review is more about giving you a boost, kind of helping you up and showing your thing off. Again, you don't have to lie, and I don't. I can't tell you how many times I've said in a review, this book's not for me, but it's a good book. I enjoyed it. It's just I'm not the audience, and that's fine. Like I don't like all ages stuff usually. It's not my thing, but I'll review it and I'll talk about it if it's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, you know, it's just conducting yourself professionally and you know, especially when someone earns that respect, giving it back to them. And I've found that in this field, I've given it and I've certainly gotten it back, and I have no issue with the karma that I've received. None.
And that is a huge thing too, because I strongly believe in karma. So like gets like. So whatever you put into it is what you'll get back. And a lot of people don't understand that. It's not a matter of, I'm not going to go over there and say, Mike, your book sucks, and therefore I'm going to get that bad karma back. But it also, if I go ahead and say, I don't have enough power in this finger to go ahead and hit the share button for you, so I'm not going to help you out on this one. It's very simple that's going to come back to them several times over in the negative aspect on that as well, because like gets like. And I'm sorry, that's just the way that it is with that. There's not a lot of excuse behind using a finger. Just make sure you use the right one. Hit that share button.
But will they know what finger you use if you're just sharing it? Will
use
they?
Whatever finger you want. I have a very good story for this one. There's some guys who share all the time. They're amazing. They share everything. I love being associated with them. They're terrific people. They share all the time. And their book came to me, and I did a review, and they were like, "Ooh, I noticed you didn't review my book." And I was like, "Yeah, it's rough." And they were like, "Oh, yeah, we were worried about that." And I'm like, "But do you want to talk about it?" And they're like, "Really?" I said, "Man, you guys have done so much for the community. You guys have been so amazing. Why don't we do a talk? We'll talk about your book. I'll see what I can do to help you out, and we'll move forward." And the fact that these guys were so cool, so helpful, not just to me. Yes, they've certainly shared my stuff, but they share so much stuff. Like on a blanket level, they help everybody. They're so awesome. I was like, for free, and I don't do that very often, but for free, let's go take it. Well, because, you know, like it's my job, but I also feel like it's disrespectful to the people who pay for it for me to not charge people.
Yeah.
So, but these guys, I felt like, no, you more than earned this. Let's take an hour or so out. Let's go through your book. Let's discuss what the issues were, and hopefully you can either fix it or moving forward, you'll know what to do. And, you know, did I do a nice thing? Okay, yeah, I did. But they earned that. I didn't do it for any reason. They worked hard, and they deserved that treatment from me.
That's why I don't shy away from negative reviews.
Yeah.
I have a story to match that. A lot of the reviews that I have done on Up Your Geek have been very positive. And whenever I do one, people are always excited and they come to me, and I always start off with the thing that I don't do puff pieces. If I don't like your book, it will be known. And one of my big things is growing up, one of my favorite role models is Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
And Feeney is a character very similar. Was no BS. Was very critical of realized people's potentials and gave them remarks based off of that, them being able to live up to what they are able to do. And so when I write a positive review, people really like and they want me to do those books. And so a few weeks ago, my editor gave me an indie book to read. This is the first indie book that I had done a review of that the author hadn't contacted me personally. This is my editor coming to me and was like, "Hey, you've been doing such a great job with these indie reviews. We have a book here." And so he had me read it. I got around 3/4 of the way through the book before I had enough to write a review on it. And whenever I write a negative review, I am mindful that every single person in this industry that's willing to put the dedication into it has earned a modicum of respect. So constructive is the key. And, I had people who I wrote positive reviews for come message me and say, "Holy crap, I appreciate your positive reviews so much more now because I saw this." I am never going to try and tear a guy down, but I am going to point out where you failed to grasp me as a reader and where your book did not do well. This book was 25 pages and was split into 4 short stories written by 3 different authors. It was a mess. And I won't put that name out there, but that's not even what they had marketed. And the cover of their book had all of these characters together. And there was no glue to their narrative. And so I talk about that in my review. I talk about it, I break it down, and I make it known that but I even said, if you had made this book 20 pages longer and gave each of these characters a full-on 10 pages worth of story, you would have had me sold. Because then you could have done something with each of these characters to make them stand out. But as it stands, you have maybe 5 pages with each, and that's not enough. You cannot go in even on a negative review, and this is one of the big issues that I have with a lot of YouTube reviewers that get into this industry, is that they'll tear into a book that they don't like, but they don't say anything constructive. Yeah. They just bash the things that they don't like, but they don't give them, maybe you should try this. And I understand that the people that they're talking to aren't listening to them, and I understand that that's frustrating. But if you want to be taken seriously, genuinely seriously, you comport yourselves with professionalism and give everyone the respect they deserve, because it's not easy to get into comic books. Any person that says anyone can do it is full of it. It's exhausting. On the indie side of things, you have to be everything if you're a creator. You're not just writing your book. You're not just getting the scripts out. You're not just reviewing your interiors or anything like that. You're doing the promotion of your business. You're managing your finances. You're planning for the future. You're trying to do everything. You are your editor in chief and your writer and your editor all at the same time. It's not an easy gig. And I have nothing but respect for every person that has come into this industry and tried to make that happen for themselves. There are a few people that I don't like and that I won't talk to ever, but even they have a modicum of respect. And if their book ever came across my desk, I would treat it the same as any book that came across. And that's what's important to me, is that everybody gets a fair shake. If I get a book that I love, they're going to feel it. It's going to be an ode to joy on paper. You can ask David Brink. I brought David Brink to tears on both of the reviews that I wrote because he was so happy. The one that I wrote for his Dream Girl book, I could show you the conversation. He was through the roof, and he was having a rough time because Perfect 10 was so close to getting funded, but it wasn't quite there yet. And he was really stressed about it.
Now, I will say, as far as with my story, just to let you know, just real quick, because we've got about 10 minutes left on this. Mine is with both of you, actually, because I reviewed both of your books, and it's not a matter of what you do for me, as far as I'm concerned. It's that moment whenever I see the look in your eyes, or I see the way that you respond in a text or something like that, that's like, wow, he really enjoyed this. With you, Mike, it was, whenever you sent me the digital and I was able to go through there, and I came back and I gave you some critique on there, and it was all constructive all the way across. And overall, I said, yeah, more than happy, that I supported this thing, and definitely looking forward to my book coming in and more. And you were ecstatic about it. I mean, you said it even made your evening at that point, because I not only did that, but I went into detail about what I liked. And that's what brings up into Chuck, is because whenever I did your review online with you on there, that made my day just to see your look on your face. Whenever we started talking and I mentioned about the particular sword and the word that was used to actually light it on fire, and you were just like, I mean, your jaw was dropped down. You're like, wait a minute, you actually read this thing? I mean, you didn't skim it or, just tell me you did it or something, because there are a lot of people that they'll just kind of look at it going, yeah, good artwork. It's a solid book. Yeah, it's good. I'll thumbs up. We'll do that. But you've actually got to dig into it. And my whole thing is that right there, that's the reason that I do everything that I do in this industry, is for that reason, for what happened with Mike through text, that I could actually see that he was incredibly happy, and through video, whenever I could actually see Chuck's face whenever I did that. So support can actually be rewarded immensely off of what you do. And it's not always financial. That's the whole point to all of this, is not everyone can do financial. If you can, by all means do so. But the rewards for what you do, I mean, come on, a finger. That's all it costs, is a finger to hit that share button and put a little bit behind it. Don't just blanket share this thing. Go ahead and say, hey, Chuck's got this new book coming out. You really need to take a look. That alone right there, the algorithms on Facebook will go ahead and pick up on it a lot quicker. Everyone else will pick up on it a lot quicker. And it shows that personal interest in what's going on. With Elysian Fields, number 2 is in the process, and I cannot wait, by the way, for that to come out.
I actually have some stuff from that to share with you guys as a thank you, Phil, for your awesome review of the book. I do have some concept work that Marcelo has been doing, so I've got some cool stuff.
I mean, who doesn't, man? Come on.
Yeah, fair enough. Phil, is it all right if I use your share screen here real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we've got a few characters for you guys to see today. All right. So here we have Heracles, which we have shared around a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hades.
Ooh.
Yeah, he turned out pretty good.
He did.
So this gold stuff right here, one of the things that people don't realize about Hades is he's not just the Lord of the Underworld. He's the Greek Lord of Wealth. And in Roman mythology, they split Hades up into 2 deities, where you had Pluto, the Lord of the Underworld, and Janus, the Lord of Wealth and Fortune. And so this is an homage to that. So everywhere he walks, gold coins trail him. And then Osiris.
Nice.
Ooh, yeah.
He's not going to be really mobile. I think Marcelo just drew this so that you could see him standing up, but he will be constantly in that chair, because that's the whole thing. Is the story of Osiris is that he was cut into multiple pieces, and then his wife Isis bandaged him back up. And he sits on the throne of the dead. And so that's Osiris. And then here we have Nergal, the Mesopotamian Lord of Death.
Very nice.
Yeah.
The inks and colors aren't done for these guys yet, but I wanted you guys to get a nice little peek at it as a thank you for having me on this premiere episode, and thanks for the kind words. I will not forget, I literally took a screenshot of it, and I cropped out Phil's icons and everything like that, and I posted it up on Twitter, and I was like, first review of Elysian Fields this is above amazing. And I literally could cry. I shared it around like everyone I knew.
That is very cool. I mean, it is. I mean, it's the best feeling whenever you actually support and someone actually gets something from that. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't always have to be financial. And that's the whole point of all this. Is too many people, as soon as they hear support, they cringe in the background. They're like, ooh, they just want money. How much money do you want? How many zeros is this going to cost me? There are going to people there. okay, we're not going to lie about it. It costs money to do what y'all are doing and everything, and to make comics and do all that. But I come from 29 and a half years of retail and retail management. And in there, one of the main things that we're taught is for every 100 people that I'm going to talk to, one is going to be a sale. So if I can reach out to 100 people, one's going to be a sale. Now, Mike, you can reach out to 100 people. Chuck, you can reach out to 100 people. Most of the audience over here can reach out to 100 people each. So now we've expanded that out to at least 1,000. Start doing the math on there. It starts making more money for you. You can actually produce more books. Everyone's happier that way. It doesn't always mean that that one person is going to be the one who is sharing. It can be anybody else as well. And it may not even be your book, your thing that you're wanting to look into. If for some reason, and I don't know why, I wouldn't be into mythology and whatnot, then I would at least go ahead and say, hey, Mike's got this great book, about mythology. It's not my gig, per se, but give it a shot, if you're into that kind of thing, and see what you think. It's got some great artwork. It's got some great thought process put into it. Just go ahead and put a little bit of love behind it and see what happens. And you never know. You never know what audience it's going to fall into. That's kind of where I want to go ahead and finish this up, because we got like about 4 minutes left. And I promised Rob I would, not go over. But the main thing that I want to leave on here, and it'll kind of tie into my closing statement to go ahead and finish this up, and I think that both of you would agree, support is not only in the industry. And a lot of people are going, what just happened? We're not just in the comic industry. What's going on here? Humanity. And I'm going to go ahead and say this out loud so everybody can go ahead and see this and hate me for it, whatever, later on, whatever. Be nice. It's that simple.
That. Oh, God.
I know. I'm going to get unfriended all over the place because he said, be nice. What the hell?
How dare you?
You're not the boss of me.
Yeah, exactly. I know people are going to find something negative in there somehow, some way, but I've said it in many of my other shows that are my own shows and everything. So I thought I would kind of bring it over to here. This is my inaugural show. This is going to be every single week. So we're going to start off by throwing the first pebbles out there in the pond and getting these ripples started with the positivity of support. Each show is going to have something positive. I'm throwing more pebbles each week. Eventually, those ripples are going to hit the bank on the other side. They're going to actually outweigh the negativity. So I'm hoping that's going to happen. I'm hoping everybody that's been here in the audience that's watched this and that will be watching this later on, that you'll go ahead and understand that this is the reason that I'm doing this. I know everybody thinks that everybody has an end game or a agenda or anything like that. If my agenda is creating more positivity in the world, guilty. Sorry. Again, unfriend me.
Dare you? Oh.
But it's just, sometimes it starts with, something small. And yeah, Matt's all over these headlines today. This is going to be interesting how this is going to turn out whenever we're done, because all these headlines on here are going to have me all kinds of ways going on here, especially the whole like seeing Chuck's face. I can see where that's going to be an issue later on. But guys, I have had an absolute blast having you on here, and I wish I could keep you on longer and all, but we're going to go ahead and cut this one short. So what I would like to do now is I'm going to give you each full screen on this. If you'll go ahead and let them know again who you are, what you do, where to find you, so we can go ahead and get that one out.
Hey guys, M.Oden, creator, writer of Elysian Fields. We got our Indiegogo in demand, so just look us up on there. We have our Twitter at Elysian Fields _0, where you can follow us at for updates, or you can look at us up on Facebook under 9 Realms Publishing LLC. We'd love to have you come like the page or follow us on Twitter or do whatever you can to throw some support out for the book as we just finished talking about. We welcome all. So thanks for having me on.
All right, and Chuck.
I get it, everybody. You've been wanting this alone time. I understand. It's just you and me now. So if you're looking for more Chuck, you can find him there. That's my name. That's how you spell it. You can track my beautiful butt down at Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Chucky Pin. You can find me Chuck's Raw Reviews. And of course, if you happen to be interested in actually checking out some of the stuff I do, you can always go to Bonfire Press on Facebook. You can go to Belial Comic on Facebook. You can go to Essence House, either on Facebook or our website, essencehousestory.com, and maybe we can have a little bit more time together. But this has been fun.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and finish it off with this right here, that these two were chosen by me for the inaugural show because they have something to do with support and the way that they go ahead and lead by example and everything. So if you haven't already, support them. Go ahead and find out what they need shared out, look at their pages and everything, and by all means, look at their stuff, because it's worth supporting. If you have the money, do it financially, because they got some good stuff. I mean, it's demon approved. I mean, you can't get much better than that. I mean, Rob even approves it too. So we got the devil and the demon approved. So, I mean, it should be worth something that, the negative deity is actually approving this as much as we are. But again, thank you very much for being here. And hopefully you'll be supporting this show each week on that. So until then, Demon Phil, Comics in More New Jersey, you've been watching Demon's Domain. Catch you next week.